Jean, our regional director, and the Parliament of Sri Lanka, who have arranged everything to perfection for us. And I think it's a very great learning exercise for all of us. People will take success stories from different parts of this region, and we will hopefully try and implement them in our country. Now, my colleague has already given you the overall picture of the national policy that we are following as far as education is concerned. You see, the problem, I've been with education for the past 30 years. The main key issue for inequality in access of education in Pakistan lies in the fact that we have the divide of haves and have-nots. The haves have access to the elitist education, but they only cater to 1 million. 1 million. And the remaining, the have-nots, don't either have access to education or do not have the same quality of education. Now, since I'm from the current government, and I must say that the Prime Minister, Imran Khan, he is obsessed with education. And our previous government in KP was, when we came into power, he declared education emergency. He said that you can only build a nation through education, and if you don't invest in your human resource, there's no way you can build a nation. So that is the actual philosophy of what we are following now in Pakistan. And for that, the Smart School program is one of the projects in which we are going into public-private partnership. So that we can enhance the facilities, maths, English, and other sciences. Such areas, we can develop a blended learning environment especially for the girls. Uniform curriculum and Madaris reforms, this is something very interesting. Now, we want one Pakistan, not two Pakistan. So for that, we need a unified curriculum, and that is what we are working towards, so that we have a national identity. Here, Madaris, people when they talk about Madaris in other parts of the world, they think that maybe they are hubs of terrorism. They are not. These Madaris, they educate at least 2.5 million children in remote areas of Pakistan where there is no actual formal education. But what we are doing now, we are bringing them into the mainstream. By bringing them into the mainstream, what I mean is that they will follow the same curriculum as any other educational institution in Pakistan. They will study all the subjects, maths, science, English, Urdu, whatever languages, apart from their religious teaching. That is also very important, so that they become part of mainstream. And that's a very major accomplishment of our government, that all these different madarises are now coming under, they're being mainstreamed in education. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, we've also launched a project with Sai Savers to address the challenge of childhood blindness. This is something, we have never been able to cater for special needs. Dyslexia, we have, and the example from Nepal. We need to make strides in that direction too, and I think this is one of our first steps that we've taken. The pilot project launched, another one was the education and professional training. Now, teacher training is very important. Your schools, your education is only as good as your teachers. So we are really focusing on providing quality training to our teachers. And not only that, we're trying to get teachers from localities, like for example, girls, parents don't want to send their children far away. And if they don't have a school nearby in the local community, they will not send their children for, the girls for education. They might send their boys, but they'll say, oh, our girls are not safe. You know, we have that mindset. They have security issues, and plus, oh, what will the society say? And our children are not safe. So we are trying to, you know, develop these facilities especially in our rural areas. And getting our local teaching staff, training them there so that the maximum number of children can have access to education. Now, we have in all the different provinces, since Article 25A says that free primary education, we are also providing children with free uniforms, with textbooks and school bags, because poverty is a major enemy of education that keeps children out of school. If a parent does not have enough food to put in the child's stomach, they will not even think about school. So the government is providing many incentives, and there's a you know, program called Strike, in which 1,000 rupees are given as incentive to girls who are sent to school. So all these little measures go a long way. Next is here. Okay. Now, after the 18th Amendment, education became a provincial subject. And the money was for education, budgeting was devolved to the provinces, and they were responsible. Now this, the first example I will give of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. This is the province in which our government was there from 2013 to 2018. So you see, the main thing that we did there was we doubled the budget. Unless you allocate money, unless you make education a priority, you cannot wipe out the inequalities. And that is the vision of the Prime Minister. So what he did was that from 74 billion, we jumped to 134 billion. And as a result, you see, it's not enough that private schools are not enough. They don't cater to the majority. So we tried to raise the standard and the quality of our state schools, our government schools. And it was such a successful model that, you know, there were many thousands of children from private schools, they shifted to government schools. And that was, I think, is a major achievement, and that's the kind of model we are trying to follow now in all the other provinces as well. And then 50,000 teachers were trained. There was all online monitoring. You know, mostly they were ghost teachers in schools. They were absent, so there was hardly any education going on. But then, when they started being monitored, it was all electronic. What we did was that the ones who came regularly, they were given incentives, and the ones who were absent had to pay a penalty. The incentive came from the penalty. You know, whatever we collected as a penalty was given as an incentive to the teachers who were really regular, who were doing a wonderful job. So these, all these things really, and then, you know, the Prime Minister, he had another thing in his mind. He said, out of 5 schools, 3 will be for girls. Out of 5 universities, 3 will be for girls. So 75,000 initially, you know, girls, they joined schools, and that's how the ratio went up as far as the girl child is concerned. And that is, I think, quite an achievement, because this is supposed to be one of our conservative provinces. And then another thing, the FATA reforms. That is something very important. It is recent. You know, it was a war-torn area, Waziristan. That was the area where there was no infrastructure, there were no schools, there was nothing. But now, the good news is that all the insurgency, it has, you know, all the devastation, the destruction, we suffered. We've been victims of terrorism. We have suffered. Now all that has come to an end, and FATA, North Waziristan, has been merged into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And now the same infrastructure, same facilities, in fact every province has had to give part of their budget to FATA, to develop them, to make them mainstream. So now that's, I think, a very, very good news from Pakistan. Let's move on to Punjab. Punjab is it's actually our largest province, 60% practically. And here, initially, we've always been short of funds, but now we from our budget, the maximum has been given to education and health. And here, the first thing that we've done to provide to have education and to finish this inequality is to try to bring those millions of students between 15 to 19 who somehow missed out on education, they were dropouts. They've been given a second chance now. And we have started second shifts in the existing infrastructure schools. So there are a lot of students are now enrolling in those second shift schools. In Punjab, 20 districts, there are about 720 schools where we've started second shifts. There are 1,700 health nutrition monitors now for health checkups in schools. This is very important. Wash facilities are being given, and we have gender sensitive and friendly washrooms now. Apart from that, there are new classrooms, IT and science labs, libraries. We have separate allocations for these. Curriculum development is being done especially for underprivileged communities. In SAF schools, mobile schools, brick kiln schools, these are all initiatives to bring the majority, and especially the ones who are in far-flung rural areas who have had no access to education before, to bring all those people in. UNICEF is helping us in early child education classrooms in Punjab, and that's also a wonderful initiative. Stride again is giving 1,000 rupees as incentive for the girl child. Clean and green Pakistan. Climate change is now plaguing the whole world, and we have introduced this in all our educational systems. This is a special program launched by our government where every person, every child has to plant 2 trees. Clean and green. We go out, we clean our country, and you all know we've surpassed the Bond Challenge in one of the provinces. So now I will end on the note that I would like to thank my friend from Maldives, who said that we want India and Pakistan to sit together on a table and resolve their differences through dialogue. Yes, we believe in dialogue. Anybody who does not believe in dialogue is an enemy of humanity, because then that means that it is war, and war destroys everything. United Nations was born because the world suffered. The world suffered 2 deadly wars. And United Nations came into existence because we did not want a third disaster. So if we respect everything that is going on under the roof of United Nations. We want dialogue, we want peace, and we want it the way United Nations has conveyed the resolutions. We don't want anything else, nothing for ourselves. But while we wait for deliberations, while we wait for the doors of dialogue to open again, let us open the doors of schools, and let us give milk to the starving babies. Thank you so much.